San Francisco is a city where innovation shapes the world. It is home to billion-dollar companies, the birthplace of new technology, and a magnet for dreamers. Yet hidden under the glow of its skyline, another reality exists. Thousands of residents are slowly fading from view. They are not gone. They are still here. They are people you may pass on Market Street or near Union Square, but you may not see them anymore. They are the ones searching through bins for scraps, spreading out thin blankets on the sidewalks, or carrying their last belongings in a plastic bag. These individuals rarely ask for money. They do not stand with signs that say, "Help me." Many have stopped speaking at all. They are simply trying to endure another night, caught between the lines of law and compassion present, but unrecognized. What makes this tragedy even more striking is the paradox. San Francisco spends more than $1 billion each year on homelessness programs. That is a number so large it should have transformed the streets already. And yet in the year 2025, people are still eating from garbage and sleeping on concrete as though they were never citizens in the first place. So let me ask you as a viewer, when you picture your own future or remember your childhood dreams, could you ever have imagined ending up here? And if not, then why do we accept that thousands of others must? The roots of a broken system. It is not a lack of money that drives so many into homelessness. The city has funding. What San Francisco does not have is an affordable way to keep its own workers inside the housing market. That is the paradox at the heart of this crisis. A report from the San Francisco Budget and Legislative Analyst in the year 2024 revealed that the city needs more than 33,000 additional affordable housing units just to meet existing demand. But the pace of building is painfully slow. It's like trying to fight a wildfire with a teacup of water. Consider this: the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco now stands above $3,500 per month. Imagine being a newly hired teacher, someone shaping the future of children. After taxes, after food, after transport, there is almost nothing left. What options remain? They must either spend 70% of their income on rent share, a crowded room with 7 or 8 strangers, or in some cases, sleep inside the same car they drive to school. These people are not failures. They are not lazy. They are victims of an economy that has lost balance. A big part of the problem comes from what locals call "not in my backyard" or NIMBY culture. When new affordable housing is proposed, many wealthier residents protest. They fear lower property values, question safety, or claim it will ruin the character of the neighborhood. At city meetings, voices of self-interest often drown out compassion. On top of that, the bureaucracy is thick with red tape. Developers can spend years trapped in a maze of permits and appeals. Even the most motivated builders are discouraged. And when people finally start to struggle, maybe because of a job loss or a medical bill, the safety net that is supposed to catch them is full of holes. Emergency rental assistance often arrives late. By the time help shows up, families may have already lost their homes. This is not just a story about people without roofs. It is evidence of a system that leaves citizens unprotected when they need it most. Let me pause and ask you, if you suddenly lost your job tomorrow, how long could you cover rent at today's prices? 1 month, 2 months, for many. In San Francisco, that countdown ended a long time ago. Money in hand, still no home. Here is another paradox. Having financial aid in your hand does not always mean you will find a place to live. San Francisco runs programs like the Housing Choice Voucher, formerly called Section 8. These vouchers cover up to 70% of rent, which sounds like a lifesaver. The Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing reports that in the year 2024, the city spent more than $750 million on rental assistance and rehousing. But here's the cruel twist: even with that support, many cannot secure housing. Why? Because landlords often refuse to accept vouchers. The reasons vary: endless paperwork, slow payment systems, but more often stigma. A person who has been homeless, battled addiction, or has a minor criminal record is rarely welcomed as a tenant. The Urban Institute studied voucher use across major cities in 2023. It found that nearly 70% of voucher holders wait 3 to 6 months before finding a landlord willing to rent to them. For someone already sleeping on the pavement, 6 months is not just a number. It is the difference between holding on and giving up. Some people apply again and again with letters of recommendation and even deposits ready. Yet rejection after rejection comes back. No explanation, no open door. And so the voucher in their hand feels more like a useless scrap of paper than a second chance. This problem is not only about money, it is about trust. It is about whether our society is truly willing to allow people back inside once they have fallen out. So let me ask you, if a person turned their life around, completed rehab, went back to school, rebuilt their resume, would you rent your property to them? Or would you see only the mistakes they once made? Branded for life. Even when financial aid comes through, another barrier rises. It is the invisible label of the past. Many who are homeless in San Francisco once had families, jobs, and tax records. But after a crisis, maybe an illness, maybe a layoff, maybe a single bad decision, they lost everything. And once you fall, the system rarely allows you to stand up again. An old eviction notice, a damaged credit score, or a minor offense from years ago is enough to end an application. One small stain becomes permanent ink on the page of your life. The Prison Policy Initiative reports that 3 out of 4 people leaving incarceration in California fail to find stable work within 5 years. The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness adds that nearly 1/3 of the long-term homeless continue to face punishment from society long after their debt was paid. Take the story of Marcus. As a teenager, he was jailed for driving without a license. 18 months behind bars for a mistake he made before turning 20. After release, he trained as an electrician ready to work. But each application ended the same way: background check failure. At 35, Marcus said, quote, "I made a mistake as a kid. That mistake refuses to let me go." We talk about second chances, but our system does not practice them. People do not choose the sidewalk, they run out of doors that will open. Think about your own past. Is there one choice you regret? Now imagine if that one choice defined every job, interview, every apartment application, every introduction for the rest of your life. Could you carry that weight? Fear inside the shelters. Not every person sleeping outside is there because they rejected shelter. Some avoid shelters because stepping inside makes them feel even less safe. Take Pauline Levinson, who lived in the Tenderloin. She told the San Francisco Chronicle that her single-room occupancy hotel was filled with rats, overdoses, and violence. A roof over her head did not equal peace of mind. This is common. Some shelters operate more like locked institutions than havens. People cannot choose who they sleep next to, when they can enter, or what belongings they may keep. According to city data, nearly 91% of individuals approached during encampment sweeps declined shelter offers. Many explained that the communal living conditions worsened their mental health or triggered past trauma. Pauline's story echoes what so many others feel: the street may be cold, but at least there you have control over your own space. As long as shelters ignore psychological needs and trauma histories, many will never walk through their doors. Imagine being forced to give up your few belongings, told when to sleep, surrounded by strangers battling their own demons. Would you feel safe, or would you rather take your chances outside? Searching for a desperate cure. In a just society, pain would be met with treatment and care. But on the streets of San Francisco, that ideal is out of reach. For many, survival means turning to desperate measures. The UCSF Benioff Homelessness and Housing Initiative reported in 2023 that nearly half of San Francisco's homeless population suffers from severe mental health conditions such as PTSD, depression, or chronic anxiety. Yet the city has fewer than 50 inpatient beds for people facing both addiction and mental illness. That covers less than 1% of actual need. One man, once a bus driver, told The Guardian, "I am not an addict. I just need something to stop me from dreaming about the accident." After losing his job and health insurance, he turned to street substances as the only available form of relief. The truth is tragic. In one of the wealthiest cities on Earth, harmful chemicals are easier to access than a qualified doctor. Experts argue that the issue is not the people themselves, but a system too slow to respond. When someone is in crisis, they cannot wait for forms appointments or weeks on a waiting list. They need help right away. just like anyone would in the middle of a heart attack or car crash. So let me ask you, if you were in pain and every official door was locked, how far would you go to silence that pain? The Sidewalk's underground ecosystem. When people think about San Francisco, they picture the shiny towers of the financial district, the tech offices of South of Market, and the boutiques along Market Street. But woven between those polished storefronts is another city hidden in plain sight. It is not made of glass and steel, but of cardboard old tarps, duct tape, and unspoken agreements. This is the Sidewalk ecosystem, a fragile society that runs parallel to the one most of us know. Contrary to what outsiders assume, it is not a place of total chaos. In fact, it is surprisingly organized, though its rules were never written down. Longtime residents of the street often called the veterans know where the safer corners are, where to find running water, or how to secure a spot near a soup kitchen. Newcomers quickly learn that survival depends less on money and more on trust. There is an economy here, but it is not measured in dollars. A cigarette might buy news of a church handing out blankets. A can of soup could be exchanged for one night of protection. Watching someone's backpack while they go to a shelter meeting is not a small favor. It is the highest currency of trust. Think about this for a second in your own neighborhood. What is the most valuable form of trust? A borrowed tool? A neighbor watching your kids on the street? That same kind of trust can mean the difference between life and death. This underground ecosystem is also an information network. People warn each other about police sweeps, share rumors of a mobile health van, or simply sit in silence together so that loneliness does not swallow them whole. They have built something the official system often fails to provide: a web of connection, of dignity, of mutual recognition. But the hardest question remains, why do people need to create this world in the first place? Why does a city that spends over $1 billion each year on homelessness still leave thousands to design their own survival society on the sidewalk? This silent ecosystem is not proof of resilience alone. It is proof of how rigid and unresponsive the formal system has become. When the doors of the official city slam shut, people find a way to build their own out of scraps, memory, and instinct. And homeless women, a life of silence and fear. Among all who sleep without a roof, women carry the heaviest weight yet are the least visible in policy conversations. The numbers are staggering, but they do not fully explain the quiet dread that follows a homeless woman through every night. To avoid being targeted, many women deliberately wear multiple layers of clothes, as if disguising their body might keep them safe. Some avoid bathing to lessen attention. Others pretend to have a husband or a male partner, even when they do not. A few carry small weapons, a knife, a broken stick, a metal rod. These are not symbols of aggression, but shields of necessity. A woman named Maya, who pitched her tent near the Tenderloin, once told a local journalist, quote, "You'd never want to close your eyes. The second you sleep, that is when they come." End quote. Imagine being so exhausted that your body begs for rest, yet knowing that sleep is the most dangerous thing you can allow yourself. According to Compass Family Services, nearly 60% of homeless women have experienced at least one form of gender-based violence. Many of them are pregnant or caring for small children. But the barriers to medical care, from lacking identification to fearing authorities to finding closed clinics, make them invisible in the healthcare system. Viewers, think about the women in your own life: a mother, a sister, a daughter. How would you feel if they were forced to defend themselves on a sidewalk night after night? The reality is that most programs in San Francisco are not designed with gender-specific needs in mind. Shelters are co-ed, support systems are generic, and trauma is treated as an afterthought. For homeless women, survival is not only about food and shelter, it is about being seen, protected, and given a chance to live without fear. The powered-off phones. If you walk down a San Francisco block filled with tents and tarps, you might notice an odd detail. Amid the scattered plastic bags, old cups, and blankets, many people keep one object close to them: a powered-off phone. It no longer connects to the internet. It cannot call anyone. Yet, it is held as carefully as a treasure chest. Why? Because inside that silent device are fragments of proof. A family photo, a saved text message, a voicemail from years ago. Things that whisper, "I once belonged. I once mattered." A staff member at Lava May, the mobile hygiene program, recalled one woman breaking into tears when her phone briefly turned on after weeks of being dead. On the screen was a single picture of her daughter and one unread text from her sister that said, quote, "Where are you end?" Quote. She never replied, not because she did not want to, but because she could not bridge the distance her life had created. Phones that no longer work still carry playlists of old songs that were once lullabies or contact lists full of names that never answer anymore. One man admitted he turned his phone on once a week just to look at his lock screen, a photo of the dog he had to give up when he lost his apartment. Ask yourself, what picture would you keep if your phone became the only proof of the life you once lived? Which memory would you guard above all else? For those who have lost a home, a job, or even the right to fill in an address on a form, a phone that no longer has service can still serve as a certificate of existence. It has no sound, no signal, but it anchors them to an identity the streets cannot erase. Sprouting from the cracked solutions that are working. Despite the bleakness of sidewalks, hope does grow, though it often grows quietly in overlooked corners. Take Jason, for example. He spent nearly 5 years moving from one sidewalk to another. What changed his life was not only a bed, but someone who treated him as if his value had not expired. Through the Homeward Bound program, Jason not only received housing, but also counseling. Today, he works full-time at a rehabilitation center, guiding others along the same difficult road. Programs like Homeward Bound remind us that homelessness is not solved by four walls alone, but by rebuilding a sense of self-worth. And these stories are not rare. The Tipping Point community has developed a model combining housing therapy and financial skills. Their 2024 report showed that more than 83% of participants remained stably housed after 1 year. That is not just a statistic. It is proof that long-term solutions exist when we invest in both bricks and human beings. Even private companies have stepped forward. Some San Francisco tech firms now sponsor digital training programs for those transitioning out of homelessness. They are not charity projects, but doorways back into society. Because the most powerful gift you can give a person is not a handout, but a role, a purpose, and a paycheck. So I ask you, the viewer, what do you believe is the most important ingredient of recovery, shelter, employment, or belief in oneself? These green shoots of progress may be small compared to the scale of the crisis, but they matter. They show that money is not the missing element. San Francisco has both wealth and intelligence. What has been missing is persistence, the courage to keep nurturing what works rather than chasing temporary appearances of success. In the heart of San Francisco, some people seem to have vanished. Not because they are truly invisible, but because the rest of us have trained ourselves not to look. Yet behind every pair of worn shoes and every blanket spread across the pavement lies a history. Someone who once laughed with friends, worked a steady job, or sang along to a favorite song. The homelessness crisis is not only their story, it is also our reflection. A society is not judged by the height of its towers, but by how low it will bend to lift the ones who have fallen to the ground. So let me ask you, when was the last time you looked a homeless person in the eye? When was the last time you wondered about the dreams they once had? At Bear City 24, we believe that telling these stories is not about pity, but about empathy. If this journey through San Francisco made you pause even for a moment, please like, share, and subscribe. By staying connected, we are not just documenting hardship. We are keeping alive the most powerful resource any city can hold: the will to care.